Hello and welcome to to another infamous Discord discussion. This week I'm going to take you on a deeper dive into currents. Some of the things that I kept looking into and finding more questions. What are currents? Are there different kinds of currents? How do currents work? When did currency become about? Did currency originate from the word current or vice versa? How do currents tie in with events happening this very moment? What role do we as human or people play in this? Is there a spiritual connection? And on tonight's panel, I have Luna, I have Naysay, I have One Polynation, and I have Bernace. So, hello everybody again, and thanks for joining me on Roundtable. How's everyone this evening?
G'day, Jules. Thanks for inviting us. It looks like a good topic you have here tonight. I'm doing good.
I'm currently well.
I'm on this side of the grass. I gotta be doing something right.
Awesome, awesome. So, yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we were discussing cycles, and there was something that I guess still I felt that I needed to address with that. It came to me currents, because a current it's it's the energy within a cycle. So and then I started, and it was like there was something about the word, and then I realized that there are a lot of different kinds of currents. I mean, there's the electrical current, there's the air currents, the jet stream, the ocean currents. Then there's the raisin like fruit that's a current. And then I thought about all these currents, and then current just came with so many variations of it. It was one of those words that I thought of currency. And currency tying in with change, and change that is happening right now, and how it's all connected with currents.
Jules, just listening to that, I realised how many things had the name current, and it even goes to the application of time. Like currently, I've been exercising every day, how that word has moved across the board into everything in our life, even time.
Yeah.
How,
So I mean,
Well,
currents
actually,
circulate things like air, water, or money. Currents are continuous energy that flows within cycles.
there you go. You use that word flows because that is actually in the oldest definition that I can find for the word current as a noun. And it's that which runs or flows.
Yes.
So, and if you think of like Luna, you were talking about time and how that word's infiltrating time. But if you think about time itself, that is a current, right? It flows, it moves, or it
Yes.
runs. Time runs away from you, or um, time seems to slow down, implying some sort of movement, right? Or a flow. It always flows
Yeah,
in one
that
direction.
well, that's what a current is. A current is that, from a Hawkeye view, that water air collision that, depending on the force and velocity of the air, creates the current. There are different kinds of currents in the oceanautical sense, like you have an undertow, an undercurrent, or rip current. But if the air hits it harder on the other side, then it determines like a stream. The water ebbs and flows. It's That's when it hits something, you can kind of see the visualization of the current.
But when it comes to the food current, that doesn't apply unless it's a very abundant plant.
Well, hang on a minute. Maybe I don't know this for sure, but I can obviously look it up at some point. Maybe the way in which that plant grows, uh, like it kind of maybe only grows in one direction, and so that would almost be a current.
I'm not sure. I have to.
Or maybe it makes something else flow after you eat too many of them. That would.
Yeah, maybe that's where it comes from. If you eat
Yeah,
these,
maybe.
current going.
Well, see, and I mean, and then there's the electrical currents that the flow of electricity results from the ordered directional movement of electrically charged particles. I mean, some of those you have like the AC current, the alternating current, the direct current, AC DC, and then you have a steady current or a varying current. And you measure these with amps.
Well, you better not measure your cranial with an amp meter because it's milliamps from the thought process down to your fingertip to make it move or touch or do anything. It's milliamps that run your body. So there's all types of currents.
Yep.
Those I think are the coolest ones, at least in my opinion. They fascinate me the most. The really, really small currents that are happening, like, I don't know how many millions of times per second in the human brain, but we don't even think about it. And maybe it's because of all those currents that we don't think about it.
And that could be the biggest mistake because piezoelectric is all around us. The smallest currents, the discharge of the earth is all around us. And we squander that. We do not try to collect it and to run systems in smaller currents. Why we took a standard of 60 by 120 for AC. And is there a cheaper, a low, and everything steps down. Your TVs all step down from 120. Your phone is, I don't even know. It's half of that.
Well, we all step down from the sun, and that has huge currents in it. As above, so below.
Yep.
Is the
The
sun?
sun's currents are on a scale that are even they're like hard to even imagine compared to the size of our whole planet. Like one little current change in the sun can change the whole solar system.
And is the sun just the back door of a black hole? Are we just sitting on the back door of a black hole?
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, I'll
No,
smoke it.
I was actually I had a little time today, and I was thinking, and I was thinking of sunspots and wormholes and portals and currents. And it's like, okay, if a portal is a current, if we had time, what variation does time play as if I was trying to do the whole volts to get my amps, the whole voltage and resistance to figure out my amps. It's like how much resistance would we need to get that done?
I'm pretty sure amps times volts equals watt hours.
Yes. So and the more I mean this week, the more I thought about it, the more it's like currents were just interesting. There's so many I never realized there's so many different kind of currents out there. And then the biggest current that I can think of personally, consciousness. I mean, it's a current that carries your body in this form.
There's another word, occurrent.
Does that mean happening at the same time?
I think so.
That's co-occurring. Wait.
But then I kept looking at currents and then currency kept coming up. And then that made me wonder. It's since I had to do a quick refresh and I couldn't find the information I was looking for. but I was trying to find out when currency actually came about, and I couldn't actually tell you because it's probably been more than likely before recorded history.
One thing that's interesting about the currency aspect of this is there's a saying, um, you follow the flow of the money. Like money flows, right? It's people say that all the time to
Follow
describe
the
how
money.
the money moves around the markets, right? So they use that word a lot. Um, and when you're winning a lot of money at the casino, they say you go on a good run, right? And that's one of the definitions of something that runs is a current.
Yes.
So there's a lot of ties in with money there that are really interesting. I'm not sure what to make of that, but it's just interesting.
And I mean, and I looked at it, and the more that I looked into this, I mean, the root of current came from an old French word courant. And it just seems like, I don't know. I mean, something seems out of place with currency and current.
Right. Oh, and going, I should have said this earlier, but the current, the berry, I'm pretty sure it's spelled with an A.
It is.
It is.
But they're still pretty tasty.
But it still sounds the same. There's tons of words that sound the same that mean the same thing to me, so I don't know. Maybe that's a compound word.
Could be. But yeah, some of the earliest known coins were from 650 to 600 BC.
There was other types of currency:
Yeah.
horses, food, people. So
Yeah, they used
Well,
people as currency for a long time.
it
I
seems
mean,
like they're trying again.
yeah,
oh,
I
they
mean, how much? I mean, I was under the assumption or led to believe that we all are currency. I mean, we're recorded our birth certificate and that little red number that's on the top.
and we're on the stock market.
I never quite figured how to look my worth up on the stock market.
You look it up by social security number, I think. I've
I
never.
don't. It the feeling of it of the story of it feels so real. It seems real.
It's not real.
No, what I'm saying is that the actions of the government, the actions of the market, the actions of how they treat us, it
Yeah.
feels real. So,
Okay, I
does
hear what you're saying now.
does something absolutely have to be laid out exactly for how it works to be exactly how it is? I guess that's current in a way.
Yeah, I mean it's a current event, and the current the word had been around for a while, but around different periods of recorded history, um, it kind of took on a different meaning. Like for instance, around 1300, currency was meant as running, flowing, or moving along. Around 1600, it was more like presently in effect, like a current event or a prevalent. Around 1600 is when it started to take on a monetary as meaning passing from one person to another. So and it's around that late time when that revolution over in France happened. Yeah,
And
it's
it was a reset then. Seems
yep.
like so they're changing they're changing the term of currency again.
And
And that's
that's
why it's always confusing. Each turning the term of currency well. That's a smoke one. Sorry.
no, I mean you just reminded something that I haven't fully looked into, like the fourth turning of man.
Well, they reset it like Klaus is talking his great reset. The reset in France was a reset in currency. You know, it was a change in the order again. So is that why the word gets whacked every once in a while in the dictionary?
It does make me wonder.
I've
But
got an interesting angle
that
here.
was a marijuana haze. So
If you take apart the word current into two words, it turns out that CUR is actually a word. And I didn't know that. But, and then you would take RENT, rent. So there would be two words, right? So, and I didn't know what cur meant, so this is new to me. It's spelled CUR, and I believe it's a noun. And it says here that it's a term usually for a dog, used of vicious dogs and cowardly dogs to growl or meaning surely low-bred man. Is from the 1580s. Okay, that's the most intriguing one here to me. Is surely low-bred man. That's what cur means. Okay, so if you pair that with what rent means, uh, compensation made periodically, um, usually in reference to possession and use of property. Um, you put those two meanings together, and it seems to me that currency is like it. That's screaming in the face slavery right there. Like anybody who needs currency is a slave. That's it. I
We're
mean,
well,
currency
we're
is
all
for
born into
the
the
currency is for
financial
the lesser
system.
people. It's for people. It's for the slaves. Like pretty much everybody on this planet.
But a lot, I mean, it seems that we're well, I can't speak for everybody. I'm going to speak for myself. But getting out of school, getting the job and everything now, I can see clearly in today's times where this is like a total like financial enslavement, because a lot of people getting out of university now, they have a degree, but the market is flooded with everybody. Everybody has a degree. So these people take low end jobs so they have money coming in. They never get ahead, so they live off credit cards. Those credit cards are maxed out, so they get another job so they can pay off their credit card. And they will never get out of debt, because on top of the credit card debt, there's also student loans and living expenses. It's kind of, I see that the push way back 30 years ago for these future generations to get degrees, I can see where, okay, we push it now, so if this is part of our reset, they won't see it get this way over time, and now it's crippling that generation. So, and I see that as financial enslavement. I mean, when I went to school, there was no talk of financial institutions or how things really work, how money is minted, what is inflation, what are things like that. That I don't remember. So I came here tonight hoping you guys had some insight and could share some knowledge with me.
I'm interested in how current itself is generated. Is there an opposite force that helps current flow in the direction that it wants to flow in? Or does it just do that by current nature? You know what I mean? Like, okay, if a current flows in one direction, is there also something pulling it instead of pushing it,
What
or
was
as well
that?
as pushing it?
I follow, but what was that opposite and equal reaction? I'm kind of boarding the train right now. Memory is a baggage claim waiting to catch up with me.
I think the saying goes, for every action, there's an opposite and
That's
equal
it. That's
reaction.
it.
But well, AC current, you have, it's going back, it's going forward and going back at the same time.
Yeah, wasn't there like the whole debacle with Tesla and Edison over AC and DC, and it seemed like Tesla energy was convenient, and it was they should have gone with that one, but not they couldn't make too much of a profit off of it.
So basically, currents are judged based on how much currency they can generate. It's so, that's
Well,
so
if I live
silly.
in land down by the river, I'm going to have to put in a water wheel because that will give me current.
It can
Yes.
generate extra current too.
Right.
Doesn't the air have
That's
current?
really cool. That
Luna,
idea means that,
Luna,
like, if you think about like all the different kinds of ways of generating electricity, which is a current, like it's the most obvious current in most people's minds, I would think. But like wind power, it's relying on a different current. And it's just transforming the current into a different current. And then water power, same thing. You can get things to put in the water that generate currents. Um, there's brakes that generate current to charge batteries. Like when you use the brakes, that it generates current. So like currents beget currents, I guess. And like how do you? So if that's true, then how do all those currents in our body happen, like seemingly by themselves?
it is an amazing machine.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean that's got me thinking about consciousness and
Maybe
being
that's the current that
conscious.
drives all those things.
Well, I'm looking at there's water in the air because electrical current needs water, right, to run through. Our bodies have got water in them, so we got currents running through our bodies. The ocean, obviously. The air has water in it, and the whole planet runs on this electrical kind of system run on a current.
Hold
So
on. I have to stop you because currents don't need water in the air.
but there is water in the air.
Yeah, there is, but the current doesn't need that. You can have a current in a vacuum.
Current of air.
Well, that's what a light bulb is. It's vacuum inside the light bulb, right?
Yep.
Like the old ones, I mean, the ones with the little piece of wire that glows.
But nothing happens through it.
Right, but that's a vacuum, so there's no water inside that. In fact, a lot of water and currents are you're not supposed to mix them.
Oh, there we go. Right. I rest my case.
It's funny though because water has its own current, but if you mix water with electricity, you're pretty much screwed.
Yeah.
Unless you know what you're doing with it.
But our bodies are a sealed vacuum of water, chemicals, electrical currents.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. Our body has an electrical current run through it. Our spirit probably is the energy source for that, but the currents run through our body, and we have everything in our body what's in the world: chemicals, water, electricity. That's all. That's where I was coming from. Because we're like a sealed vacuum. If you cut us open, everything comes out. You know what I mean?
I do. But I keep thinking, like, where does the original current come from? Because
that's where what I was trying to get at. I'm thinking, all right, here's this world. Because my people didn't have currency. In traditional people, we traded and that, but we never had a currency. You know. And I imagine back then, all over the world, at one point there was none. So where did it actually come from? I keep getting this vision, someone arriving in our world from a different energetic place and bringing it in somehow, imposing the currency upon us. It's like they knew how it worked and they impressed it on this world. That's just the visions I'm kind of getting while you're talking. I'm seeing the world and
just seems like the word,
all these things.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like currency and current, there's a confliction, and they one of them, I think, could be misworded.
Perhaps.
Hey, here's another question. Speaking of the origin of currents, how do electric eels generate their own current, seemingly out of nowhere? It's some kind of chemical reaction or muscle action. I don't know what it is, how they do it.
That's what I was getting at before, because we're kind of the same, right? We can, you know how you've touched someone and you can zap them? And I was looking at that, I'm thinking, hang on, they're like the eel, and there's some other critters in the world that have a little electric current. We have it. And that's what I was looking at. I'm looking at our bodies like, hang on a minute, we're a mini world in here. We've got current, we've got ebb and flow of water in our body. Yeah, and I'm trying to match it up and see where it was born from.
Well, there's the electric universe theory that might tie into this, but I unfortunately have not looked into that, and I wouldn't know what I was talking about if I even tried. Like, all I know is that it's somehow based around electricity, and that the whole universe runs on these principles.
Yeah, because when I see things from an energy point of view, okay, you take what you see away, it's just raw energy. So every single thing in front of you has its own energy, whether it be inert or alive, it still has some sort of energy. But whether the current can run through it again. So if we've got a device, we've got to run a current through it. It doesn't come alive until we run some sort of electrical current through it, like our phone or whatever, our computer, TV, whatever appliances we have. And then it kind of comes alive. But we're already a walking unit like that. And we can emit electricity like an eel if we wanted to. Yeah, and I'm looking at it from that way. We're a little self-contained system there. And how it come about. The world's built on energy. The spiritual world is energy, because the spirit is just raw energy. And then we apply with our eyes what it looks like for us to communicate. And I'm seeing like all this spirit energy, and then we come into the world, which is a closed system, and the energy goes into the world and starts sparking things alive. We take on a body and it comes alive, like we put electricity in the phone and the phone comes alive. We're kind of like that.
Well,
it's called coffee.
Batteries generate current, and they can store current. So I don't know how lithium batteries work, but it's pretty cool that you can put a current into them and it stops there for a while. And then when you plug that battery into something, it comes out again. So it's like I was trying to figure out a way to ask because there's a current always flows, right? So if it's flowing, that means it's moving. But if you put it in a battery, it's not flowing. because it's in the battery.
until it's circling around inside the battery
I
until
guess.
like us.
Because you can't have a neutral current, can you? Because neutral and current are oxymoronic. Like that's complete
You're a
opposite.
positive and a negative current. You have to have a neutral current.
Well, you can't. How can you have a neutral current?
I don't know, but when I do healing, there's actually a neutral energy that I use.
I mean, there is
depending
an
on
energy out
what's wrong with
there.
it.
I mean, the phrases like switched on, um, tapped into, plugged in, things like that. I had that thought today. It's like that's pretty.
You get
Yeah.
no idea. Plugged in, switched on. Yeah, that suggests that you've plugged yourself into the mainstream currency of energy. When I do healing, Polly, your thumbs are actually the neutral energy because each finger generates a different kind of energy, right, from your body. Your thumbs are the neutral.
I don't understand neutral energy.
Okay. No pushing or pulling. It's really. I've never actually had to explain this.
I think I'm
About
understanding
that.
from Polly's aspect, but in the sense that this is the one time I'm going to do maths on a weekend, in the sense that positive and positive is positive, negative and negative is positive, positive and negative are neutral, and negative and negative and negative and negative. I just messed myself up, but you get it. You get it.
Yeah, kind of.
That's the sense where Polly's coming from, where it's hard to really define a neutral current.
Right.
Or
Maybe a balanced current might. because I've got this thing in my head. I remember healing this fella. He was laying on the ground sick. He was Native American, actually.
Well, no, I don't. I'm gonna stick to my guns here. You can't have a neutral current. There's no such thing as neutral money. There's no such thing as neutral wind. There's no such thing as neutral tides. There's no such thing as a neutral river that just sits there. That's not a river. That's a lake. I mean, like, there's no neutrality in current because current has, by definition, the word flow in it. So there can't be a neutrality in a current. It could be like a current that's not harmful or negative. That would be a neutral current, but the energy is still flowing in a direction. It can't be neutral, otherwise it's stagnant. I hope I'm making sense. That's just where my mind is.
You're making sense.
I'm stuck on that one
If
principle.
I could explain how I heal more better, which I'm going to actually sit down and have a look at so I can explain it better in the future. There is a neutral energy, and I don't know how to explain it to you, Polly. I can't even tell you what it looks like. Just know it's there.
Pull the plug out of the wall and you see red, black, and neutral.
It's not that I don't believe you. It's just that I just don't understand how that can exist. Maybe it's, I don't know. It's just
we just had a bit of an.
So far, I know about currents is that count. It's contradictory.
Well, see, it's like the negative on the color scale for me. When I first think of it, it's like black, white, gray. There's a lot of gray, but where's the neutrality? It's so encompassing that it does seem like it's either positive or moving one way or the other. Because I'm thinking of currents as in ocean currents, the wind coming down on the water, moving it one way, and it was flowing the other way, so it creates friction and waves.
Makes electricity, makes energy. It actually makes energy. Whether it be neutral, positive, or negative is love.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's so. When it makes energy, is that big negative, that big gray area in the middle from the two ends colliding, that's energy. So is energy the negative aspect of a current?
But then I've got to look at the word negative. We only see things as negative because it destroys something that we
Well, I
like,
should say
want.
other, because
Yeah.
in currents it
Yeah.
doesn't. In currents like aquatic, they're not positive or negative. They flow one way or the other. So
No,
I
they just
shouldn't
are.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, I shouldn't say positive or negative, and with the sense with they flow one way or the other.
Yeah, but even that,
No, no, no.
the
Come on, though. Negative doesn't necessarily always have to mean negativity. A
uh,
negative is commonly used in photography, and it's the reversal of an image. So a negative current is the reversal of a positive current. That's all they mean by negative there.
here's something to chuck in the pot, talking about energy and currents. People with Rh negative blood give off negative ions, right? And those negative ions actually attract people when they feel happy when they're around them.
Very
So
interesting.
Like
there's
salt lamps.
kind of, yeah. I'm just going to read a little bit of research here. Give me a second.
Please do indulge me. I speculate on my blood type.
It gives a whole new meaning to if you call somebody salty.
It does.
Okay, I'm going to read something out here for you, Polly. I'm just going to have to speak loud because I'm away from the microphone. So, all right, here we go. It says, the neutral wire does carry current. It is responsible for completing the electrical flow through the circuit. The hot wire current needs an outlet to return to its source, which is where the neutral wire comes into action. Does that help?
Well, okay, it does, because to me, I would call that the grounding wire.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So when you do healing, you have the same thing. You bring the positive, negative current energy in their body to a nice level, and then you neutralize it, so it all balances out.
And that's so okay. So we could basically we could almost swap the word neutral for ground.
Yes.
Nope.
Here we go.
Finally,
So
we
that
hit
was
the right
four
word.
folks.
I knew you weren't gonna stay neutral. I knew you weren't gonna stay neutral.
That was 4 pokes and 3 jabs. Step back, son. Let the man in.
So if you look at your outlet, they used to just only have 2 prongs. Okay? For sake of discussion, one outlet or one opening would be red, which would be the positive where the electricity is coming through. In order to make a closed circuit, the positive has to come in connection with the black. The red and the black have to meet. The positive and the negative have to meet because this will create a closed circuit. So if you think of like the letter U, at the base of the U would be like a battery or a generator that is creating the electricity, and it pushes it out through one, left or right. It pushes it out, and then once the top of the U connects, then you have a flow of currency. A ground, they started putting ground wires in to prevent people from dying from electrical shock, and also for appliances for blowing up and starting fires, where the ground will be connected literally to the ground. So if you also have a surge of electricity or a lightning strike, the current will be absorbed mainly into the ground so it doesn't fry out all your electrical components of your household. if you break apart how a magnet works, and there is still huge debate, and most claim they don't even know how a magnet works because you have that positive, neutral, and negative aspect to a magnet. But if you look deep enough into the center of a magnet, you will find light or that energy. So does that help at all?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going back to my hummus.
So, is there any spiritual? What are
I
the
just like the idea that the word ground, when it's used even for what Naysay just described as channeling like excess electricity out of the circuits instead of from your computers and stuff like that. But grounding, like as a person, you can do something called grounding, and it's
yeah?
basically just like putting your feet on the earth. And it's supposed to have really, really good uh, effects because it aligns your currents, I guess you could say, in like your microcurrents in your body. The earth has a natural frequency of something, I don't know, it's between 6 and 7 or something like that. And when you wear shoes, you have rubber on your soles and you don't get grounded. And so apparently, grounding is a good way to get rid of excess energies that create imbalances, which I was thinking about when you were talking about healing, Luna, with the neutral part and how that's like it's similar the way you described it to how a ground works. Like even the way Naysay describing how a ground works, it still sounds similar to me.
Well, it makes sense to me that when you're grounding, when you're still with nature, with Mother Earth, everything that we need has always been here. And that's one of those aspects that we can do to ground ourselves to help energize us. I mean, I kind of think that what we give out, we also get back. And just sitting here listening to this, I get a sense that grounding with grounding with nature when you're planted and you're connected, that's when, and with the energy that flows, what you put out, what she gives back is that spark that carries you, that current that heals and energizes at the same time naturally.
So if we run on a current, is it possible for someone to interfere with that flow and change the message on it?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
called resistors and transistors
Right.
and woke sisters.
Yeah, I don't know much about electrical stuff.
I love that, woke sisters. That was a good one.
Some people act as magnets to currents. They just keep sucking all the currents in. And I don't know where they put it. Seems to just disappear somewhere.
I mean, it was a the thoughts of current this week and currency, and that led me to like money. Currency is money when it's in paper form, when it's dolled out, split up, or whatever. But you get back change, and I pondered putting so-called change, not necessarily coins, but change to create a new habit, a new routine, start something new. That change with current events. And it was just one. This week has been one long current rabbit hole, but it's been interesting. I've definitely learned some things along the way.
Hey, I wonder what, and I'm not expecting this is a hypothetical question. Um, I wonder, okay, if there's, if the ground in electricity is analogous to the neutral energy in the human system, then what would the ground equivalent be in our current monetary system? Like, because then that would, we might be able to use that to balance it again. Because all the money went in one direction.
Yeah,
in the last few years, especially.
Our current currency system needs an overhaul, and that's part of that reset, part of that plan.
So, what would be a neutral currency?
I was thinking to what you said before, neutral currency. I was thinking a fractional banking system is what creates the problem.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know that's what's creating the problem, but I'm trying to imagine what a neutral currency would look like. It would almost not have any value from.
Well,
I mean, this is only
that's where I'm kind of thinking the digital currency.
Trade or barter.
Well, okay, here's the thing with bartering too, though. Let's say I'm trading a bunch of seeds for a goat. At some point, you could say, and I wouldn't argue with you, that those seeds have now become currency, and the goat has now become currency.
That's what I learned about currency. Anything that a culture valued is their currency. It doesn't have to be what we consider money.
Because it's current.
Yes.
Right.
Like, it's whatever you need, right? So, like, if you don't need a goat, but you need some apples, then all of a sudden the goat isn't currency anymore, and now the apples are.
All I'm saying is, like, people on an island, if there's a rare shell, that can become valuable. So that's currency. Whatever the culture deems valuable or of value, like once our money is no longer of value, which it really isn't now, but people don't consider it of value, it'll just be junk. It won't be worth anything.
Well, that's like the early settlers. They traded skins.
And that was their currency.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, what we did, so say you had the seeds and the fur, sometimes it's not an equal trade, and we used to have something extra like a shell to equal the trade up, to let that person know that you actually gave me more than what I traded you, so here's the shell, and next time we trade I'll give you a bit extra to make it up, or you use the shell somewhere else. It was just a filler. Filler. It wasn't actually the main tool of trading. It was just a filler in case what you were trading with was a little bit less than.
But the filler has to be something of value.
Yeah, it would be. We had a certain type of shell. Yeah, it'd be something rare, something you can't get in that area. You might be able to get in another area. You can't get in this area. I think what happens, that balance is broken when one person runs to the other area where all the shells are and brings a whole heap back and spoils the whole balance of the system because of greed. Right. But it is possible, and we did it before now. Before now, we were trading with everybody in a good, proper manner. Whatever currency came through changed the, how could I say, the vibration of the currency changed and moved a bit towards greed instead of living. That's how I see it anyway. But here we are with a currency that will soon be useless. And our currency won't even be a thing anymore. It'll be a number on a screen when you turn the computer off, the electricity off.
That's
and
what
take
it
the
is
currency
now.
away. There won't be any currency.
That's the way I see money now. It's not really money. It's just numbers in a computer. Like, it's not, the bank actually doesn't have that money.
No, they never did.
Bunch of numbers.
They never did.
Right?
They made it up. They made up the money and then you gave it to them. Yeah. So it was an invisible currency. They told you they had a currency and then they lent you
be
what you
backed
thought
by
was currency.
but it's just not backed by anything now. It hasn't been forever. Other people still deemed it valuable, but it really wasn't.
No, it's just.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive.
I mean, looking at it from a business stance, from banker stance, it's all. I can't say from a banker stance, but I can use a personal reference to when I ship documents out daily. There's no value claimed on them because the outside source who is shipping does not consider value on paper.
Oh, okay.
So it's plausible for me to think that these people who are backing the banks don't really care because potentially to them it's just paper. It's worthless. So I don't know. It's interesting. We live in like one of the strangest times where we're seeing so much change happen so fast.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's just this whole current dive has it's been like I'm saying I've learned a lot of interesting stuff and I never realized the importance of a simple word and how one simple word was potentially misplaced because I feel a difference between currency and current. And I can't help but ponder what that spiritual connection is. I don't think it's with currency. I think it's with current. And the more I think, it just in currency just seems so out of place with current.
Can't even connect the two. I'm trying really hard.
Then with current, that you have the cars which are electric, but to power the cars you need the plants, but the cycle's not built right now.
Yeah, it's it's a strange time, and
It varies.
that's what led me to think of currents. That discussion we had a couple of weeks ago on cycles and how now I can clearly see that a current is a continuous cycle.
But you can be out of phase in that cycle.
True.
Excuse me. So, which it sure feels like we are.
Yep.
It feels like someone's playing around with the current and energy, changing it somehow.
Yeah.
Well, they have the weapons to do that. That can make a whole lot of people within a certain range of those frequencies all of a sudden fall down, all of a sudden have a heart attack, all of a sudden all kinds of things be filled with fear
Well,
by the frequencies they're pulsating.
they've been doing it long range too, Connie, with Havana syndrome.
What is that? I've never heard of this.
Havana syndrome, I haven't studied a lot into it. From on the surface what I understand, Havana syndrome is like noise, like not everybody can hear. It's a low pitched noise, then they target you with it. And it makes you like nauseous and queasy and sick. And then
Can you audibly hear the noise, or you just get the symptoms?
that I have never experienced it. And from what I've led to believe, or reports that I've kind of like listened to bits of, I
Uh-huh.
believe that I don't know, I believe that they don't hear it.
I'm
Yeah,
asking because I've had weird symptoms where I'm just sitting here and a wave of nausea, like horrid nausea, will just come over me, and then it's like a wave, it just goes away. And I think, what is that? Yeah, I just find it very odd.
I think if we could see the current of energies, when you walk up the street, you'll see all the energies from machines and people floating around in the air and going in this direction and that direction. And you walk into it and you walk out of it.
Think how busy the atmosphere is with
It
all
is.
the. It's very busy.
Yeah.
There's currents of energy all over, generated by machines, people. And I have to ponder that we are currents of energy. So if one can manipulate currents of energy, isn't it possible for us to be able to project energy and change other energy also?
Yes.
Our own. Um,
I would
Maybe
love.
we actually are physical, biological, and spiritual batteries.
we are. That's what I
We
was getting
are.
at. Yeah, we
Just
are.
Yep.
walking around, and once in a while we bump into somebody and they're like the opposite polarity, and then we stick to them.
Ha! What I want to know is whose machine are we running? If we're all batteries,
I
we're
guess
running.
we either serve one master or the other, so that's whose machine we're running. Well, whatever master we serve.
I think someone's trying to steal all our energy.
Well, of
current.
course.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can't steal it if I'm giving it away.
Ah, yeah.
Whoa.
Well, that's the other side is that, you want some and you get an overload. You can give them an overload of energy.
Yeah, I need somewhere to put it. Take as much as you want.
And it's pretty obvious that the world's set on a energy current that flows to make it all nice. The air currents flow one way, the water current flows another, and it generates certain energy which makes everything move around. You know what I mean? And it goes on from there.
Yeah, I mean, and now I'm thinking of all the pyramids. There are pyramids over in Egypt, and then the pyramids that are in Mexico, and all these places that have pyramids, and places like Bosnia that aren't very common. When they connected, what if they connected, or when they connected?
Yeah, they would have
What
harnessed the
what kind
natural
of
current
what kind of
energy. Yeah.
current would that project?
Well, one big enough to blow it up because it blew up. Something went wrong and it short circuited and blew up. Because if you go into the pyramid and have a look through a picture, I've never been there personally, but you can see there's burn marks like it's blown up. So whatever they were tapping into the world current energy, and yeah, they did something and it overloaded and blew up, short circuited. I don't know, but you can see all the scorch marks from it going wrong, and then everything went down, I presume. If you turn one machine off, because they all relied on each other. That's why they were all over the world.
But
it was like a little battery system of its own.
Was like, so in theory, could the capstones have been like a charger?
Yeah, well, on a battery, on a battery, you got the top and bottom. We got batteries here, they're all gold on top. They're really good quality batteries, and they're painted a gold colour on top where the little knob is.
I'm a very, very, very extremely novice with electricity. When it comes to batteries and stuff, the scientific, sciencey stuff, uh,
Same, I don't
I'm a
know.
little challenged.
I got electrocuted once and I stood there. I said to Carl, why am I jumping up and down? He goes, you stand in the electric current. It was the kettle fell over, the electric kettle, and I was standing and the water spilled out. And I'm standing in the kitchen going, what the fuck? And then I'm going like this. I said, what's going on, Carl? He goes, you need to turn the electricity off, you're getting electrocuted. I'm like, what? And it flowed through the water of the thing and went into me and my waters. But I didn't die. Yeah, I don't know much about electricity. I've had first-hand experience, obviously.
Yeah, I mean
I don't know much
that's
about
why I pay an electrician when I have electrical work done. All I know is the basics. That if you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with that.
Well, I think the electricity we use today and the way the current flows and the natural electricity are very two different things, because a lot of electricians I know actually have a lot of illnesses and tumours and stuff working around electricity these days.
Well, especially the high voltage and stuff.
Yeah, it will alter their own current in their body. That's what I said. They're around these machines all day long and it actually alters their own body current, pulls it out, changes it somehow. I don't know. I've never looked into it that much.
There's also, sorry to interrupt, there's also a lot of really toxic materials in a lot of these transformer type things that you see. The where all the wires go into, like PCBs, I think they're called, or something like that. They're very carcinogenic. So if you're around all those all day too, that could definitely have an effect.
Yeah, would it affect you eventually? That's what I've noticed.
Kind of like radiation, I think, from what I understand, but I could be wrong.
But I see the form of electricity that we use today as, well, we can say negative, destructive. It's, when I look at it, it isn't a nice, smooth, natural energy. It's very sharp, and I see it cutting into other people's energy. That's how I see it, and that would explain why the electricians are sick, because they're having this spike in there, cutting their energy all the time, poking into it.
And it's funny because electricians are safe if they are not grounded. Like, that's the worst thing you can do as an electrician, is work with live wires and then ground yourself, because then you're dead. That's why they wear rubber.
Yeah, you got to wear, yeah. And I know that the bolt cutters have different voltage. So you get bolt cutters from a low voltage to a high voltage, so you can cut electrical wires. I learned that the other day. Don't ask me why. It's a secret. But yeah, you get different wire cutters and they're made to hold the voltage so you don't kill yourself. It's very interesting. I'm going to have to go and talk to one of my electrician friends. All right, mate, sit down. I'm going to ask you for the next hour everything about currents and electricity.
Yeah, I have an appreciation of electricity more than I did at least a week ago.
But we can say, if you are listening to this program and you are an electrician, please leave a comment below and educate us.
Yeah, or even join Discord and find the KBS Discord and come in and set us straight.
Yeah, set us straight on the electric current.
So we've been yearning for a bit, and I'm thinking about winding it down. Does anybody have any final thoughts? I mean, unless there's anything compelled to be brought up.
The only thing the last question I have is, so we've established the currents in everything in the world, but why do they call that fruit currant? Is there something special about that fruit, those currants? If you eat them currants, are you going to have a better run of electricity in your body? Like, what's the go? I know they've got vitamin C. Does vitamin C have something to do with running our electricity better in our bodies?
I'm going to guess at this one. That's a really good question too. But I'm going to guess at that maybe eating a lot of currants may help your blood flow.
and make the currents move better in your body, the electrical current.
Maybe it it helps with circulation or like cardiovascular.
Yeah, right. Maybe we should all be eating more currants, people. There's red ones, white ones, and black ones.
Well, actually, that gives me an idea. Totally off topic, but for like another show, we could do like all just foods and why they're named certain ways, why they look certain ways, how they help the body, and the coincidence, like how
I'd like that. I'd also like to do seed pods as well, because did you know, and these got nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but the snapdragon seed pod looks like a skull, a human skull.
Wow.
No.
Yeah, I'm
I
looking
didn't
forward
know
to
that.
that one.
All right, so we'll leave that. Yeah, that's a good topic for the future.
Hey, do you die if you eat one?
No.
Because that would be even more cool.
But yeah. So, well, I've certainly had a little bit of enlightenment today, and we all need more education on currents. It wouldn't hurt us to learn a bit more.
It's shocking on how little that you can expand on currents.
Thanks, Dave.
Positively.
I just want to thank you, Jules.
Night
for-
all, try the peel. I'll be here all week to keep your waitress.
And I want to thank you all for the insight and the knowledge that I've learned along the way, and the desire for me to keep going on this current that's carrying me through my days. I had a fantastic time, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for all who participated, and thank for those that have yet to find this. So stay bright, everyone. Until next week, we'll see you for another discussion.
Yalu.
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 Yalu.